your initial reaction when Mark said he wanted to do this documentary?
Well, it didn't even start out saying he wanted to do this as a documentary. He just honestly and wholeheartedly thought that the Roman Reigns match was going to be his last match, and he just wanted the footage for himself and for our family. So that's literally how this whole thing started. He just wanted the personal footage, and it turned into this amazing documentary because, as you've seen, Roman Reigns obviously was not his last match.
Have you two been watching the documentary together?
Oh, yes, we have. We've been watching it as a family. Our daughter's been really enjoying watching it with us. It takes us telling her very often that we don't just sit around all day and do nothing, that especially her daddy has worked really hard for 30 years. And so for her to be able to see that footage, it's really been enjoyable for our family as a whole.
When he started doing more things out of character and even social media, did you have any worries about him opening up like that after he'd been in character for so long?
I didn't worry about it personally. I know he had some reservations about it because he was a little skeptical as to how the fans would accept him as Mark Calloway because they're so protective of that Undertaker character, just as he has been for the past 30 years. So I wasn't worried about it. I knew how badly people wanted to kind of see the man behind the character because he's just never given that to the people for so long now. He's protected that in so many ways. So I thought they were going to be receptive, but they truly have been amazing. And I think that's been good for him to see as well.
Fans have loved seeing him out of character so much. Has that given him a personal feeling of maybe I should be myself more?
Well, it's funny because the Undertaker character and the man, Mark Calloway, they're kind of enmeshed in a lot of ways. There's a saying in our business, that your character is you amped up like 10 times.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of characteristics in Mark the man that you see as Undertaker on TV and vice versa. So I don't think it was ever an issue with him being able to open up. Obviously, he's himself 24/7, here at home. I joke and tell people he doesn't, walk around with eye makeup and his eyes aren't always rolled in the back of his head. So I feel like it's been kind of freeing, him just being able to be himself and people kind of getting to see that.
I think my favorite part so far in the series is when you and Mark talk about how you started dating. And you even say that you didn't want to meet The Undertaker when you started WWE.
No.
Why was that?
No. Because I grew up watching it, and I mean, he is not the most inviting person when you're watching as a fan at home. So there was, and he gives me grief about that. He was telling somebody the other day, yeah, she doesn't like long hair, she doesn't like tattoos, she says I don't look all warm and fuzzy. I'm like, you don't. So I grew up watching it, and I did not want to meet him, and I didn't want to meet Kane. And obviously I married Mark, and Kane is just the nicest guy you'll ever meet. But it was just a whole character. Like, he protected it, he lived it, and I knew out of respect I had to say hi, but I had no interest in meeting him at all.
Was there a moment before you started dating where you remember thinking, okay, he's not the guy he portrays in television, maybe he is warm and fuzzy?
Well, yeah, obviously I've gotten to know all of it through the years just from working in the ring and being on the road so often. And he will tell you a completely different story, that he definitely courted me for quite some time because I was not into long hair, tattooed guys, and as respect, for the business, dating wasn't as acceptable as it is today, and so I wanted to respect all that, and so I knew his personality a little bit before we actually started dating, but it took quite a bit of time for me to warm up to the idea, but finally I gave in. I was like, sure, if you stop harassing me, I'll go on a date. No, I'm joking. But finally I did give in, and obviously we're happily married 10 years this summer.
So we see in the documentary his match with Brock Lesnar and you two watching it back together. But when you were in the audience, did you feel that there was something wrong?
No, I actually had no idea. And Mark does not ever watch his matches back. Like in the documentary, when we're watching the Roman Reigns match, that's the first time he had watched it back. He had watched the Brock match back with myself because, one, he wanted to see if he could remember anything, and two, to see if he could tell when he got concussed. And even he couldn't. You could tell by the way he was moving, kind of the look in his eyes, now knowing what happened, you could see he was moving differently. But at the time when I was in the arena, I had absolutely no idea until I went to meet him in the back. And that was a scary night.
Did you also know that the streak was ending that night, and did you have any feelings on it?
Yeah, he was, somebody asked me the other day, we were doing an interview together, and they said, did anybody know that the streak was going to be broken? He said, yes. I told my wife, Michelle, and, after she stopped being so upset about it, he said then, there were only a handful of people that knew. But I did know the streak is just so big to me, and as a fan, being selfish, I didn't want the streak to end, like a lot of other people. Obviously, it's business. There was no question asked when they asked Mark to do that. Obviously he's a consummate professional. But, yeah, it was shocking. I think I was just as shocked as a lot of people, and it was crazy. That was just a whole new era to WrestleMania, I guess.
And then with the match with Roman, and when we do see him leave his hat in the ring and he gave you a kiss on camera, we all seem to think he was done. In the documentary, happy at the end of the match, and you kind of seem like you might feel he's done, but did you truly believe that he was?
Yeah, I truly did. The gesture of leaving his hat coat and gloves in the ring, that was his idea. That was kind of his way of telling the fans goodbye, because, as the Undertaker character, he's not one that's going to give a speech and thank the fans just because of his character. So when he did that, I thought, okay, this could be it. When he came over and gave me a kiss, to me, that told me, wow, he's serious, because he just broke character for the first time ever. So that was a sign that I kind of thought for the first time, he might be done. This might be it. So I truly believed it at the time.
Then when he decided to have another match, was that a difficult conversation between you two?
No, not at all. That wasn't the first time he had thought about leaving and then coming back. Not at all. I always expected, I always joked that come January he's going to get a phone call and better start training because he knows he's going to do WrestleMania. And every year for the past, 6 or 7 years, no, I'm done. I think I'm done. I'm good. He did tell me. But I was not shocked at all. I'm never shocked at this point. And whatever he decides, I'm there to support him.
Did you watch his match this year with AJ Styles? What did you think of it and the idea of doing a match like that?
I did. I watched it with my family in Florida and my daughter. Mark didn't watch it with us. Like I said, he never watches his matches. But that was pretty cool. It obviously wasn't ideal circumstances going into that WrestleMania. Nobody really knew what to expect. But I think they got lucky in the sense of it being a boneyard match and kind of having it off-site. And it just, this whole new cinematic still that they did was just something spectacular that we hadn't seen before. So I was extremely impressed with the match, what it looked like, the storytelling. I thought it was amazing. And they were happy too, which is really what matters.
If he continued wrestling, but he only did cinematic pre-recorded matches like that, do you think you'd worry about him less in the ring?
I don't think I'd worry about him less. Like he said, when you do a match like that, when you're in the ring and you're constantly going and you don't stop, your body, is all warmed up. When you're doing the cinematic still, like the boneyard match, they would have to stop at certain points, for camera angles to change, or like when he busted his arm open 5 minutes into the match to stop the bleeding and get the glass out of his arm, stuff like that. And when that happens, your body's cooling off, you don't get to stretch and warm up again. So it's a little bit harder in that sense to stop and go.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would make me feel any better, but it was pretty cool.
Mark seems to really be looking to give his career a perfect ending. Do you think a perfect ending is possible?
I think that depends on who you ask. I don't think he'll ever think something was as perfect as his and Shawn's match, which is kind of hard not to agree with. But I think when he emotionally feels complete, I don't think he'll physically ever feel 100% again. So I just think when he can emotionally come to that closure, that will be the perfect ending. I don't think does he want to have a great match like he did with AJ? Of course. Does he want the fans to be happy with the match? of course. But I think more importantly at this point, it's just that emotional closure that will kind of make it all okay.
Did you feel when you retired in 2011 that your career ended how you wanted it to?
No, sadly, things were a lot different back then, and I've been thinking about retiring for a couple years just because I wasn't completely happy with everything that was going on in my career, and I wanted to, first and foremost, I've always wanted to be a mom, so I wanted to try and have a baby. So I still feel like I could have done a lot more. I still feel like the girls could have done a lot more, but just in that time, we weren't given the opportunities that the girls are today, which is wonderful, the time that they're getting and the stories that they're getting and just the more equal opportunity. But back then, it was different. We had to fight and claw for what we got, and had to fight each week to get on TV. And I'm so incredibly grateful because I did accomplish a lot. I had fun in a business that I only dreamed about being in one day. So I have nothing to complain about. And most of all, I retired and I did have a baby, so I couldn't be more blessed.
It was really cool to see in the last fight Mark supporting you when you did the Royal Rumble match. What was that like for you, and is that why you decided to return?
Well, that was cool. When they called me and asked, I was like, "Ooh, I think I can still do it," in my mind. But it has been a few years. But then that competitiveness kicked in. I was like, "Okay, I think I still got it. I could do one more. I could train." I knew Mark would support me no matter what. And I thought, my daughters never seen me wrestle. They were coming out with a T-shirt with my name on it, which we never got back then. So I was like, oh, this is an opportunity. Kaya can have one of her mommy's shirts. She has a million of her daddies. Like, she'll think this is super cool. Well, he goes with me. He comes running into catering later that day, and I've got a T-shirt. I'm so excited to give her a T-shirt of her mommy, and she comes running in. I'm like, baby, I got you a T-shirt. She's like, oh, it's okay, Mom. I've already got Naomi and Bailey, so would you feel bad if I, wore third over yours? I'm like, okay, I did all of this for you, kid. And she was still wanting to wear Naomi and Bailey, which I understand, but so she wasn't as impressed as I thought she would be, but personally, it was really fun to get in there and mix it up. So I was glad I did it. They were there to support me, and other than her being upset that Naomi and I kind of went out in the ring a little bit, she was good with everything else.
With the series now ending, what do you hope is the biggest thing that fans learn about Mark Calaway, the man?
I hope the fans just can appreciate, one, how vulnerable he's been throughout all this. This is a side that I can promise you not even a handful of people get to see from him. So I hope they can appreciate him truly opening up about what it's taken for him to get into the ring these past 5 or 6 years. Everybody has their opinion when he's come out, but they don't know what it's taken to get him from point A to point B to get back into a match at WrestleMania each year. The surgeries, the physical pain, the emotional, toll that it takes on you. So I just hope they can truly appreciate what he's given this business, the passion he has for this business, and what it's taken for him to personally open up throughout this documentary.
When watching it back, do you have a favorite part?
Favorite part in the documentary? Gosh, I don't know. I'm his biggest fan, so I love watching all the stuff with him. But I love seeing my little one because I like seeing him with her, and he just never got to see that part when we're at WrestleMania. So being able to see him and access with her and get to just see the true joy and excitement that the business brings her, just like millions of people around the world. That's been my favorite.
But yeah, the bit at Access was so cute.
She loved it.